Hi, welcome to the Small Scape. I'm Joanna, and today we're talking Bacopa. I was going to do 5 reasons, but I have so many that I have to make it 10 reasons. 10 reasons why you should get Bacopa in your tank, even if you have nano tanks. So yes, I love Bacopa. I love a lot of aquatic plants, but Bacopa is super cool for 10 reasons. Before I get to that, my favorite thing about Bacopa is, well, if you're a gardener, you're gonna know this already, you can actually walk, for this plant, you can walk into a gardening center, or you can walk into a plant store or a pet store, and you're basically looking at the same plant. Yes, I know, they're not actually the same plants, but they are relatives. So Bacopa in the aquatic world has relatives in the land world, which makes it really cool, especially if you are like me and you are a aquascaper, fish keeper, and also a gardener. Okay, so 10 things, let's get started. Now, I'm not gonna be going into the different varieties. That's for another video that I'm really looking forward to. This is just a general overview of Bacopa. I have said that this plant is good for any tank, including nano tanks. You may say, well, if you know anything about Bacopa, say, well, it gets very, very tall. It can get 2 to 3 feet, even, I've heard even taller than 3 feet, which may not make it a suitable plant for a nano tank, but I totally disagree. So, number 1 is, well, it grows slow. I consider it to be a slow grower. Some people consider it to be a somewhat fast grower. I consider it slow, and it does not spread by runners. So that means it will not, once you plant it, it will not pop up elsewhere, say like a crypt. Number 2, it is a stem plant, so you can trim it to whatever height you want. If you want to let it grow tall, you can do that. If you want to keep it as like a mid-ground plant, you can trim it shorter. Trim it to whatever height you want, which is obviously especially helpful if you have a nano tank, which in this world, I usually consider a nano tank to be 10 gallons or less. Number 3, very easy to propagate because it's a stem plant and you can trim it. Number 4, like I said, I'll say it again, it's very easy to propagate. And what does that mean? That means free plants. It is a stem plant. So like I said, you can trim it to whatever height you want, and that's exactly how you propagate it. You trim it between 2 sets of leaves, and then that little trimming part you put into the substrate. There are better little spots where you're gonna cut it. If you look for little new sprouts, you're gonna wanna trim it right above the little set of sprouts, and you're gonna get great looking plants. Now, number 5, I consider a very fascinating fact about this plant, maybe the most fascinating thing about this plant. What I really, really love about it is, well, it's got a very vertical habit. So it's very different than a lot of the other plants that kind of have this sort of, like the crypts and the anubias kind of go. Well, Bacopa goes straight vertical until it hits the water, and then it becomes creeping. So it has 2 different habits, one underwater, one above water. Like I said though before, it comes from the gardening world and the aquatic world, different relatives. Number 6, this is actually how we use a lot of our Bacopa. I don't know why we started doing this, but I love it as a floating plant. You think, why would you use it as a floating plant if it's meant to be planted in the substrate? I don't know, it looks really cool. It creeps. It just lays on the water. Once you have it laying on the water, or once it is growing underwater and comes above water, part of it will grow up out of the water. It looks really, really cool. Especially if, like in our low boy, you have an aquascape that has kind of like a paludarium sort of feel. You have maybe driftwood, we have manzanita branches, and rocks coming out of the water. This is a great plant choice because you're gonna get your money's worth both under the water and above the water. It's a very interesting plant. Really great for if you have like fry. We have mollies in our tank, and there's always a little fry, so it gives them some place to hide. Number 7, it is a great background plant, and this is how most people will use this plant in larger tanks, smaller tanks. I would have to agree with how most people use it too, is they use it to hide equipment. Because you plant it in the back, it grows very tall, and it can hide those sponge filters. I don't like to see them either. Really great usage, and that's it's going to be in the back of the tank anyways, growing tall, so you might as well have it do some work for you and have it hide your equipment. Number 8, it is very versatile for light. It can tolerate low to medium light. It doesn't require high light. Love those kind of plants. And it's similar, like I said, to anubias and crypts in that manner as well. And it also makes it really perfect for nano tanks, because a lot of the nano tanks do not have specialized plant lights. They don't have extra highlight, fancy lights. So any kind of stock kit that you're gonna get with a little nano tank, it'll do just fine with those lights. Number 9, it's also versatile with temperatures. So if you have a cool tank all the way through a warm tank, I know a lot of you you run a lot of warmer water tanks. This is actually another great plant for you to consider because it goes from, this may even be conservative, mid 60s to mid 80s. It does great, and like out in the garden it can tolerate some cool temperatures out there too, so it's just all around great. It's very user friendly. And the last reason that I think this plant is really super awesome is, well, it's easy to find. So whether you get your plants at the big box stores, Petco, PetSmart, they're gonna have it. I think in the past I have gotten it as a gel culture at PetSmart. So obviously it'll come really kind of small, but you can get it there or online. Flip Aquatics, they are a channel sponsor of our other channel, Primetime Aquatics. I can link their information down below. They have a great selection of plants and all your nano needs. So I appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully you learned something new about Bacopa, or let me know in the comments below. Do you have any of this? How do you use it? Do you use it in the background plant? Do you use it as a kind of a creeping plant? Do you use it out in the garden? Let me know, and then I will put some videos here for you to watch if you'd like to, the ones that I mentioned before, Anubias versus Crypts, the battle, and then also how to propagate Anubias. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.